Hi, everybody. It's Donna Reed with Up With People Cast A 1976. In case you haven't watched any of the other videos, I'm going to say that every time. And today I get the great opportunity to speak with Brittain Kisshauer. And I just told him, I said, Britt, I'm going to ask you about your name. Your name isn't Joe or John or Mike. So where did we get Brittain?
Brittain's an old family name. I'm seventh generation. My daughter's now eighth generation. Brittain. And
you gave your daughter the same name.
One of her middle names. Yeah, she
nice.
Is Kasha Noel Brittain Kisshauer.
Oh, that poor kid.
I know it. She just goes by the first two.
I was going to say, oh my goodness, we do that to our children and then they don't fit on any applications. Right,
right, exactly. Well, and her, which one is it? Noel has an umlaut on it, which drove the doctors and nurses crazy. And I'm well, no, that needs to be on there.
That needs to be there. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. When we're done here, I'll tell you about if I'd had a daughter, what the Swedish name would have been and why that never probably occurred. So
well, she knows we had just told the family we weren't having children.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. We're still in denial.
So Britt, you and I, we were just talking and I didn't remember what year you first traveled. So tell us when you first traveled and then kind of what you and I just talked about your time after that first year.
Right. First year was 76 E. And so we were pretty much started in October through the end of the year in Europe. And so weren't in a lot of touch with the other casts.
Right.
And but had a fantastic year.
We were all doing the US thing, the Bicentennial thing still in the States.
Right, Bicentennial year.
Yeah.
And that's where I saw it. I was at the Super Bowl and ended up at halftime, all these crazy people running out. And I saw somebody that I thought I knew.
Seriously?
No, and they were staying with a family friend of my parents.
Oh my
as a host family.
So the 75, so you saw that 75, 76 cast in January. Right. And where was the Super Bowl that year? Was it in?
It was in Miami.
Miami. I was going to say it was in Florida.
I'm from Fort Lauderdale.
Oh my gosh. It's so fun to hear how
just that little thing. I mean, seriously, most of us were going out to get a hot dog and all these, this action at halftime because we weren't used to seeing that.
Yeah.
And once we, I was like, somebody singing down. I said, I think I know one of them. I found out they were staying and performing in Fort Lauderdale later in the week.
Wow.
And changed my life.
That is so fascinating. As I've done these interviews, there's people that never saw a show. There's people that learned about it from a hitchhiker. Like because for me, it was 75C. And if they hadn't been doing the Bicentennial tour in the smaller towns, I would have never seen a show, but they were breaking up those big groups into smaller groups. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So your 76E was also a little smaller cast, wasn't it? Did you have the 100?
We had about 100 people.
Oh gosh. For whatever reason in my brain, it was a little bit smaller group, but
no, I think it was a full cast.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, and when you joined Up With People, were you a musician at the time or what?
I had been in entertainment and was hoping to be a keyboardist or singing and got to do a little of both. And then our keyboard player left midway through the year.
Okay.
And so I became the keyboard player. And then from there, the next year, band leader and kind of moved zigzag through the ranks of Up With People.
How old were you when you traveled the first time?
I think 20.
20. So were you in college? Were you in the middle and you took a break or?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd gone 2 years. Okay. And then thought this would be a great break. Not really sure what direction I wanted to go at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you go back and finish school or no?
Eventually.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, but not like Up With People for a year, go back and finish.
Yeah. Well, I stayed with Up With People for 7 years.
That's a long time.
At the end of that, did some production work in television
Okay.
And a friend of mine that had been in Up With People was working in Nashville and told me, boy, you need to come to Nashville. And I thought, oh man, that's big time. I don't think I can do that. You know, Up With People's one thing, but the music industry. And
Yeah.
so I came back to Nashville to get a music business degree
Oh,
and
okay.
ended up getting a finance degree.
Did you go to Belmont College?
Yes, I did.
Okay. A young lady from my church is there right now.
Oh
She
my
just,
goodness.
she's just, well, no, she's back. She just finished her freshman year at Belmont, and that's
Okay.
exactly what she's majoring in. Yeah.
Yeah, great school. And boy, it's really grown. I mean,
Yeah.
since I went there, and my daughter went there and was starting out in music business and ended up a librarian.
Ah, the twists and turns.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think it's my fault because we traveled so much, and every time we go someplace, I'd make her research where we were going because of Up With People. You know,
Ah,
what's important for us to see here? What about the culture? You know, the foods, those kind of things. And so
yeah.
she
Yeah.
became a bookaholic and now specializes in special collections.
Could be worse, right?
Oh
I
yeah.
mean,
Oh yeah.
literature, reading the world, how could you go wrong? You know,
Exactly.
with
Exactly.
all of that. So did you overlap and work with Sam Lynn and them during some of that time? Because Sam was
Yeah.
doing a lot of music stuff with,
Yeah.
okay,
Towards the end. Yeah.
okay, okay.
And once I was in Nashville, uh, kind of how, you know, a young brain doesn't, you were talking left and right earlier.
Yeah,
So I finished up my degree in finance
yeah.
and thought, well, now I need, you know, all the jobs I had been somewhat in entertainment. And I thought, well, I need to get a real job. And went to work in the financial world and really hated it. And it just was not, you know, but I'm like, hey, you know, it's kind of hard to walk away from the money.
Yeah.
And luckily at that point, the company was bought out and they offered a package.
So you
And
took the
so I
buyout.
took it. And that my wife and I, we were married in 86.
Okay.
And so in 89, we wanted to go to Hawaii. I'd always wanted to go to Hawaii. So we spent 4 weeks and went to each island
Oh,
and had a love affair with it. And I mean, since then, we've been going up until COVID,
yeah.
2 to 3 times a year. We'd go over and spend time there. And the gentleman that owns her company now
Yeah.
owns a home on the Big Island.
Oh,
And
nice.
so there's and so in doing that, and while we were over there, that's what we were trying to figure out was, would I get back in the music industry? And, you know, as we were talking about, I said, well, where I grew up in Lauderdale, all of our friends, their parents worked for Eastern Airlines. And so I've always wanted to work for the airlines.
Right.
And so we put a plan together and ended up, right after I got back, one of the contacts got into marketing with American Airlines
Okay.
and was there for here in Nashville, and they had a huge hub. But
Right.
then I think it was in 95, they shut down the hub here in Nashville,
Right.
which Southwest loved. So they moved in and Delta Airlines came. And
Okay.
to do the same kind of thing with elite services and their private clubs,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And so went to work for them and just retired because of COVID. They were having to offer packages, and I took
Yeah.
one of those in 2020. And
Nice.
so now we're in the process of looking at downsizing. And I spend half my day selling our stuff on eBay.
You know, I was talking to a young person the other day, and I mentioned, they said something about stuff, and I mentioned George Carlin and a place to put your stuff, and they just
Yes.
they gloss over because
Oh yeah.
they've
Oh,
heard the
yeah.
name, but they don't know the skit. And I'm like, it's when you start doing that you realize that you're older, when people don't get
Oh.
the jokes.
Oh my gosh, no kidding. And I
There's-
just watched that special
Did
on
you?
him. Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
but you know what? God bless you for taking care of it now, because as a
oh,
realtor, I see people, and then, you know, the stocks right now, Extra Space Storage is one of the top selling stocks.
Well,
Because we all put all of our stuff in storage and then somebody later has to go.
well, my
through it.
wife's much smarter than I am, and that's where we figured. She said, "I don't want to be like other people I see that all of a sudden they decide to downsize and have to just give everything away."
Right.
And,
Nope.
we've accumulated some junk from around the world over the years,
We all do.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so it's amazing what sells on eBay. So we're thinning out the herd pretty good.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you. I have gotten to where when I travel, I either specifically pick up a vase or a piece of pottery if it's a part of the world that matters, because I can use a vase. But
Sure.
beyond that, yeah. No, it's the memories, right? It's the memories we share and
Right.
things like that that make a
Right.
difference. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we've kind of walked through your life. We know why you're in Nashville. Do you anticipate staying in Nashville as you retire? Do you think you'll get a second home? What's your future look like?
No, and we've kept going back and forth on that, but I think we're gonna move to Florida.
Okay.
A little warmer climate near the beach, and maybe 2 or 3 years. My wife will retire and just consult at that point, and
Okay. Okay.
we'll see.
Yeah.
And just kind of move, but that's the plan, is to move back down towards Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach.
Where you grew up. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's
I
awesome.
wouldn't have thought that, but she really wants, she's from Virginia,
Oh,
and
all right.
really wants to move down there too.
Nice, nice. So, as I think about the questions that I've emailed everyone, clearly you were involved a lot of years. So your first year, you were doing the same show that I was.
Right.
If you think back to that show, there's certain songs I'm not allowing to people to say Rhodes anymore as their favorite.
Oh, well, then
Yeah, Rhodes and Moonrider, we all know. We love them, right?
True. Yeah, you're right.
So,
But that was one of the songs that really attracted me to Up With People.
yeah,
And just the whole chord progressions of it, the words of it, just and they still stick to me. Now, if you're going to ask me, I can't tell you.
All right, so
I was a band director. I don't know.
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
remember the songs.
So I laugh also because my son traveled in 2013 at what the old medley was. So for us, it was the 20s, 30s, or whatever. And then for them, it was the not 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. And I was like,
oh my God.
Right? It's just so funny to think about those medleys. But when you were in Europe, did you do the 200 years medley, or did you guys switch to something else over there? Because we changed in January of 77. But prior to that, there was this whole speech about the sunny side of the cave. And like,
I do think we switched over with a European medley.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
It's awful. I can't remember.
Every time, at reunions now, they have backing tracks, right? And so we always end up doing the same thing. And I sort of laugh because I'm like, who now can still do boogie? Are you kidding me? Let's do Pocket Full of Dimes. At least we don't have to jump and whatever. But I also there's a piece of me that always wants to do kind of the silly, not famous songs from through the years.
Mm-hmm.
So Caldwell and I talked a little bit about this, about those ones that he goes, they can't all be hits done.
Yes, that's true.
And stuff like that. So Rhodes spoke to you. Is there anything else as you think about then the years that followed that you remember, or were you kind of just wrapped up in actually doing the music that not thinking?
Well, at least for the next 3 or 4 years, yeah, which was fun because getting to work with Herbie and with Paul. I mean, it was just an incredible and valuable experience.
Right. Yeah. We don't know what the future holds for Up With People. And I don't know how intensely involved you've been with things. The tours changed over time. The money clearly changed over time. The focus of certain things changed over time. What do you what would you envision for a future of Up with People in 2022 or
It's
2023?
kind of two. I love what they were doing where they were spending a week in a community and
I agree.
really getting involved. But the thing that I loved during my year and in Europe, every 3 days, we were in a different city.
Mm,
And I mean, you had to speed all of that up,
right.
but it really prepared me for being in the music business when I moved to Nashville.
Oh, that's
Because
interesting.
it really made that transition into what I would call real life uh, much easier for me,
That-
having done that and getting to see so many different cultures in that amount of time.
That's true. So that's interesting. A really fast-paced Up with People experience and then a fast-paced work experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Nobody's kind of talked about that. So that's an interesting, yeah, that's an interesting thought. So, one of the things that I think I have on the list that I emailed you, but I haven't remembered to ask everybody, is related to the service side of Up with People, the giving part of life. And I just realized yesterday, I haven't remembered to ask people that. So when we traveled, it was often nursing home shows and things
Right.
like that, junior high assemblies. But do you feel like you were always a person who donated time or energy or something, or that anything that you experienced in Up with People brought that into your future life?
Oh, I think absolutely. I mean, it as a young person, everything seems to be about you.
Yeah.
And after being in Up with People and being with these different families and seeing the different situations, but also the similarities between from different countries to the problems that people have and go
Right.
through, and then how they spend their time and what it gave a large plate to kind of look and say, how do I want to give up my time? How do I, because time is valuable.
Right. Right. And have you done something that you feel like, do you have an organization? Do you have a nonprofit that you like love or support or?
It's one, because we love animals.
Okay.
And there's a local place called Old Friends that they take in, from people that have passed that have a dog or
Oh,
cat or animal, horses too.
yeah.
And we've spent a lot of time with them
Yeah.
just because these are, uh, well, I've got one down here that's almost 17 years old. This year he's gone deaf and blind and little dementia, but he's in great health. And so he has his little spurts, but it just attracted us, and the people that we've met there is a big thing in our life.
Oh, that's interesting. I got to remember to ask more people about this, because I feel like we all have a passion for something, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes it's our work, and how fortunate,
Yeah.
right? If your
We've
passion
all
is
had that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But beyond that, I think that as the number of people that are reaching retirement aged, and again, Paul Caldwell, we joked about, he goes, I don't recommend waiting till you're 88 to retire. But he found a whole different purpose. And I think that, God willing, we have our health, right?
Right.
That we can finish with the career that we had that made us the money, we hope.
Right.
And we can do something else that's a passion for us, that allows us to give back. And,
Right.
yeah. So if animals is part of that, the animals love us, whether we love them or not, right?
Unconditional love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's neat. So, all righty. So tell me, if you remember, any.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Because Carol and
Are
Lee.
you kidding? I can't remember when I go from my office into the kitchen.
Oh, I did that yesterday. I was at the grocery store and I headed towards an aisle and couldn't remember.
Why am I here?
I come to aisle 3.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Carol and Lee messaged me after we got done yesterday, and she's like, oh, I could have said, maybe I shouldn't have said. Yes.
Well, when I was driving back to the house today and getting ready to
Yep.
talk with you, and I thought, my first year was 46 years ago.
I know. I
And
know.
how is that possible?
Yeah. Are you by any chance coming to Phoenix? Are you coming to the reunion out here?
I'm not. One of my wife's artists is starting his tour this Friday. And
Oh,
so our
okay.
summer travel schedule, I'm not trying to travel with her as much as I can.
Nice. Nice. Wow.
Yeah, until fall, I won't have much time to.
Right, right. I am gonna just run up for a day because I leave for Europe 2 days later. So I just didn't feel
Oh,
like
nice.
yeah.
Where are you heading?
Scotland, Spain,
Oh,
and a whole lot of
oh,
time in France. So I've never been to Scotland and never been to Barcelona. So super
oh my
excited.
God, you're gonna have a
Yeah.
wonderful time.
Yeah. Super
But
excited about that.
if you
Yeah.
get a chance, and I know you'll be talking to Mia too,
Yeah.
but she's been there. There's the oldest continuously inhabited home in Scotland. It's not a home, it's a castle. But they used to only be open during the summer, but it's called Treckware. It's about 45 minutes straight south of Edinburgh,
Okay.
and the Stuart dynasty. Their
Okay.
family still owns it, and they rent about 3 rooms out of the castle.
Oh, how
And
interesting.
we've been a couple of times, and most Scots don't even know about it.
Well,
We would ask, and they go, "Never heard of it."
yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
it's where Mary, Queen of Scots, had King James the First. And it's just an incredible place. And now they built a museum in there with
Oh,
some
very
incredible
fun.
stuff.
Well,
But
I'm sort of leaving it up to some people there, and there's another
okay.
alumni and his wife who are going to be arriving and living in Edinburgh for 2 months at
Oh,
this.
how
So I'm
awesome.
gonna our kid, my son is a huge Harry Potter fan, and he goes, "Mom, you got to at least meet up and have a drink someplace where Harry," and I'm like, "Oh gosh, okay,
Oh, are you going to be in London at all?
not this trip. No,
Oh, okay. Because
no."
they have the studio out there, and we took our daughter. Oh my gosh, it was
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm super excited, but it means I'm only going to be for a day up in Phoenix instead of for, the 3 or 4 days. But
Right,
so if you were to, you've traveled a lot, you've been a lot of places.
right.
If you had one place that you either is on your bucket list that you haven't been, or that you liked so much that you got to go back one more time, if you knew that it was this year, you got to go back this year, where would you go, Britt?
Singapore.
Singapore. Why?
I love Singapore.
What do you love about it?
I like the people there, the newness of their country. But I like old and new mixed together, and
So
they
old
have a lot of
culture.
that.
Ah,
Yes, yes. And I have friends that live there, and in fact, I think that's where I caught COVID in December of 2019. I came home, and the doctor said, "Oh, there's some viral crud going around that nobody knew what it was at the time."
right, right.
And but I joke with people. I said, if I was a multi-billionaire, I'd move there.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
The year I studied in France, there was a young lady from Singapore, and she was opening a small either restaurant or bakery.
Oh,
I can't remember. And at that point I was already in my 50s and she was like 23
mhm.
or 24. So, you already feel like they could be your children, let alone now your grandchildren, at some
Right.
level. But so Singapore. All right. So from a food perspective, anything that you ate that you would be like, I'll never eat it again, or anything that you ate that you didn't think you'd like, and then you were like, oh, this isn't bad.
I think probably sushi and sashimi.
Yeah.
I
Also, when you were in the East,
never thought I would, and now, oh my gosh, I can't live without it.
really,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still a California sushi. Like, give me some rice and avocado.
Well, when we took my uh, daughter to Japan, this was back in 2003, and she wouldn't touch it.
Yeah.
And when we came back, our sushi chef, where we usually go, eased her into it. And I said, here, you missed the best. Last week you could, I mean, it melts in your mouth. And we know in fact, Causeway,
Yeah.
Equator. Yeah,
Yes.
Causeway. Because I've been over to see and stay with her and her husband
Oh,
and
gosh, I
family.
haven't heard that name for 46 years.
Well, she ended up, you, in your mind, you always think, oh, they live in a shoebox. I don't want to, and they
Right,
always
right.
invited me
Indonesia,
to come
yep.
stay. And I was going to meet a friend who was going to work in Okinawa. And while we were over there, I said, hey, why don't you come out and meet us for dinner? And she said, well, we can't get back home. No trains. Come stay with us. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to be such a burden. And got there. What a beautiful home she has. And they have groups of people that come and stay with them. So they took me to their little local sushi place.
Yeah.
And I think they did some stuff on purpose just to see if I would
See how
eat
you'd
it.
react.
Yeah, it was like a 20 course of miniature things. Oh my gosh, fell in love with it. And I was the only American in there. I mean, there were only like 10 to 12 seats, but all the locals that were there wanted to see how the American would do. The owner was enthralled that I would eat everything, brought me his own personal teacup and gave it to me. She said, we've been eating here 20 years. He's never given me anything.
You know what? Somebody did that with me in Belgium in the summer of '78. I was, I'm not a beer drinker, but you're in Belgium and tasting.
Sure. How are you going to miss it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember I was with Karine and Boudoir Stoyer, and I still have it, a beer glass that went with a specific beer. And Boudoir said the same thing. He goes, they never give me one. So I guess,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's good to share. All right. So we've got just a couple minutes. If you were a couple of things, if you were to say anything to a potential student that might get the opportunity to travel, whatever it looks like, what might you say? And do you have any just great words of wisdom for life based on your Up With People experience?
Oh my gosh, I don't know that I have any great words of wisdom, but just don't miss out on opportunities that are in front of you. And originally I was thinking Up With People was, the music experience and being a musician, that, but all the people that you meet. And thank goodness for Facebook.
Yes.
That I'm in touch with so many.
You and I wouldn't have been in touch.
Oh, no way. No way. I mean, I'm not a letter writer. I'll email once in a while, but here it's constantly, in touch with people. And
agreed.
Even old host families, that have come and stayed with my family, and we go to theirs.
Cool. Yeah.
And just like when you go to Scotland, you're going to have, people that live there. That makes all the difference in when you travel. Yeah. I mean, I love going to places. I don't know any people in Korea, and I love Incheon and the outlying areas, but I don't know anybody there. I'd love to know somebody and just experience through them. And that's something you getting Up With People that I don't know. There are too many other experiences.
That's the host family experience too.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And that is one of the things as they work towards the future. Everyone talks about the host family experience. And right. Because of COVID,
exactly
will that look like? Will people open up their homes and stuff? It's super interesting to consider what the future looks like for all of that. Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you for your time. I'm super tickled to get to see you, Well,
it's so good to talk with you and just to see another Up With People face.
76. Woohoo.
Yeah, can you believe it?
I know. Yeah, you think about, I often think that in here, there's still a 20-year-old.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but
the
when
body doesn't.
My knees and my back don't feel the same way.
Exactly. So thank you for your time, Britt. I'm going to end this, and then you and I'll just chat for a couple more minutes.
Okay, good.
All right.
Well,
appreciate your time.
Hey, everybody.
Okay.